Hello everyone, welcome to LearnMore.in Frontline Warriors. With this series, we are basically trying to get professionals from the industry to talk about their experiences of what it means to be in the industry and what it means to upskill to get to that level. On today's episode, we are bringing in Mr. Pranesh Singh, who has spent 22 years in the industry with various MNCs and now has started his own company in the healthcare sector. So let's get started. To start with, sir, thank you so much for joining this call today. Now, we are very much looking forward to talk to you, considering your vast experience in the IT sector and now finally in the entrepreneurial sector as well. To start with, sir, now our viewers would definitely like to know that after 2 decades of IT experience, how did you start something in the healthcare sector, considering it's very different from what IT is and healthcare sector. So how did it happen?
So Raj, this is the answer that I usually give it to people. There is no different reason. It is just that after spending about 20 years in the corporate, we come to a stage where we think a little bit different in life. And the H3Y is born because of those thought processes where it's more about the happiness, health, and individuality of a person. So H3Y stands for happy health, happy you. And to start with, we have started on the salads side of it. Which is again towards the health side. Yes. So short answer is no direct connect, but it is more with respect to the passion and what you have a vision for yourself.
So one more question which definitely comes, that considering that after you have worked in the IT sector for so long and considering the entrepreneurial side of H3Y, so how different are these two lives if we have to compare?
Very different. So from the corporate sector, you are more in terms of giving us solutions and making businesses work. Here, you are trying out your solutions for your own business. And you are always bootstrapped. You always are directly responsible for whatever you are doing. And if you make right decisions, you are benefiting from it. If you are making wrong decisions, it's only you who are actually benefiting. So 100% responsibility lies on us rather than corporate, where you have teams to support and take decisions.
So now coming back to the IT sector of your experience, which our viewers will definitely want more of. So in that scenario, one question which comes is that, so considering that you started your career 2 decades back and till now, how has hiring been changed over these years? Like how has it been impacted?
It has changed a lot. Earlier, the projects used to run longer. The projects were more with respect to the client server kind of a technologies. Onshore, offshore models, where offshore you will need the skills which were prevalent at that time. Visual Basic, Java, mainframes, and all that. Now, the technology-wise, there's a lot of shift. People are talking more with respect to the digital, connected, data security, analytics. So we have a change in the technology space. We have a change in the duration of the projects and the models, project models. So if a fresher is looking for getting into the IT space today, then they need to focus on some of the technologies which will be relevant towards the AI side of it, or the cyber security side of it, or anything to do with the digital space, where we talk about cloud, networking, your machine learning, natural language processing, all that. And if you're talking about the hiring of the senior profiles, then you cannot be only the project manager. You need to have understanding on the technology, how you can mold or use a technology to benefit the client's business. So very, very changed now.
So as you mentioned, right, about the technologies and about people getting skilled in it. So in that scenario, there is also a growing momentum in the industry and talk about upskilling and reskilling. So do you think how big does an impact does upskilling and reskilling have on the industry in the current scenario?
Highly needed in current scenario. As I was saying, right, like the project models have changed. So now the way you develop a solution or an application for the customer is very, very different to what you were doing earlier. So you have microservices now where you just need to know about the right service and use it, right? The reskilling is definitely required because your technologies have changed. Reskilling or upskilling is required because your projects which used to have 20 resources at any point of time just require 5 or 6 resources at the max, right? So the person needs to know multiple things. They should be able to provide a value to the not only to the project, to the servicing company, but also to the client. So without you reskill or upskill on the latest set of technologies, latest set of methodologies or processes, you really cannot sustain in the market.
So in that same flow, right, there is also a growing audience which is being laying off now because of the pandemic. Many people have been laid off, as well as there is also a big bunch of youngsters who are coming inside the market, who have finished their graduation or studies or higher education. So any advice to them that you would share, anything from your experience that you would like to share? What is the best thing that they could do right now in this situation?
So when a person gets laid off, there are primarily 2 reasons. Okay. First reason is where you did not reskill or upskill yourself based on the need. And second reason is where you did everything, but the industry got impacted. Okay. So when we consider the first reason where you did not upskill or reskilled your skill set, the fault lies with you. You have to keep your eyes and ear open to see what is happening around you. And you need to make sure that, okay, you are updated and usable in the market, right? There's nothing wrong. You just need to take a piece of paper, write down what you can do best, what you want to do, and what are the gaps which exist based on what is needed in the market, and see how you can actually fulfill those gaps. For the second reason, where you are already upskilled or you are already working on the right set of technology, it's just that your client had a hard time and they have to stop the funding or they have to stop the project. It's just a patience that you need. You are updated on your technology skills. You just need to have a patience to find the next project and get into it. Yeah.
Okay, so in the same scenario, right, there is one more question which comes, that considering the layoffs and everything, so what do you think from now on, what are the industries which are supposed to make it down the line, or from the flourishing end, what will flourish, and which industry, if you look at it, might take a hit because of the current situation and everything, because this is unprecedented times. It has never happened before, and obviously some industries would impact, some would grow higher. So what do you think about this current situation?
I think this is the question which most of the people are grappling with, and everyone has their own views. Similarly, I also have my own understanding and views. So in my view, some of the industries which will do really well would be your education, online education industry. So that will do well. We are talking about the data science, which is already doing well, but now it will be more important because everywhere the data is getting generated. Okay, so from that data, getting the right information is the key. So data science becomes important. Genetic engineering could become more accessible or more common in next few years. Cybersecurity or telecommunication is another industry which should work well. Telemedicine is another one. Yeah, I think these are the new industries which I think will emerge, apart from digital, which is already going strong.
So there is again, following up of the same question, right? That some industries and everything. There is also one more trend which has come up due to the pandemic, and which I think will also carry on in the coming years and months, is basically the work from home situation. That most of the companies have actually asked from people to work from home because there is no other alternative. So, do you think the next we should be more prepared to work from home in the coming years and months as well, because companies might shift? For example, Twitter has announced its companies can permanently work from home. So in that sense, do you think we should be prepared for a more dynamic workplace?
So if you say that uh, we should accept that from home will become a normal going forward.
Hmm.
If that's your question, the answer is absolutely yes. Because work from home, so we are almost like 4 months into this pandemic, right?
Hmm.
And specifically, if you talk about India, uh, uh, almost all the companies have asked their employees to work from home.
Hmm.
And this is something which has worked out very well for the companies and to an extent for the employees also. If you just remove the long working hours and different type of challenges in their personal life. Okay, so it has worked very well for the companies. So I think it will stay, and we will not see the previous mode of working anytime now. Reason for that is like companies will have a lower cost of operations. They don't have to pay any rentals if they have rented out the space. Their security requirements or the services requirements have gone down significantly. So this is going to stay. This is not going to go back to the pre-COVID era.
Hmm. So in that scenario again, right? If I combine two questions now, for example, as you said, upskilling and reskilling are also important, as well as work from home is also important. So combining both these questions, how big do you think online learning will play a role if we combine these two questions?
Uh, I think it's the right time for the online learning platforms.
Mhm.
And there cannot be a better time than this when your educational institutes are also grappling with teaching the classes online.
Mhm.
So it's probably the best time for the platforms like LearnMall. Uh, it is just about how easily you can give the right courses or the right set of skills which is personalized for a person, right? It cannot be a
Mhm.
generic skill. So if you think that, okay, I come from a digital background, I come from a strategy side, then what are the skills, how easy I can find out those skills to upskill
Mhm.
myself. Okay, and working from home gives me a lot of flexibility because I can actually take up those particular courses
Mhm.
uh, anytime.
Mhm.
So work from home is adding to the upskilling or reskilling requirements that each working professional or person who aspire to be working uh, have.
So, for example, if you just talk about Learn More, right, there is also a other side to Learn More, that it also gives industry professionals. The courses on learnmore.in are from industry professionals. So, in that scenario, even if we remove Learn More from the equation, right, industry professionals coming in to teach and basically using online education medium to have their knowledge online so that other people could get educated. How does this idea fare to you? Like, what do you think about this particular concept of industry professionals creating courses themselves, who are at a, let's say, on the ladder of a higher knowledge path?
I think this will grow, Raj. This will definitely grow. The problem that will come or surface in some months or some years is you will have a lot of people who are creating the courses,
Mhm.
but the quality of those courses uh, will matter a lot.
Mhm.
Okay, so even if you see any platform today, you will find hundreds of courses on Java. But
Mhm.
how do you find that right course which is going to help you rather than finding a course on Java. So the benefit will be there when industry professionals are coming and adding the courses or teaching the uh, people on the platform. But the quality and the actual content that they put in that course, the connect they can make with the learner is going to be the key. And that is something which we need to be seeing in a period of next 6 months to 9 months time.
So one key thing that comes in is because comparing an industry professional to create a course serves two different points. One thing is that obviously if you create a course on a marketplace, you have this financial motivation because your course would sell. The other part of also is that your knowledge is getting spread far and wide. So there is the social motivation point view also. So in that scenario, do you think the industry should, wholeheartedly step up to create this chain or fill this chain of education gap which is there, or do you think it is best left to academicians or academia to fill this gap?
No, so if industry professionals are creating the course, that is definitely on the ground understanding that they are translating into a course.
Mm.
Okay, so that will always be helpful. Uh, my view is that like there are a lot of industry professionals in the market today.
Mm.
Uh, because of the, you said two things on the motivation, right? One is the financial side of it, and second thing is like the kind of visibility that they can create, right?
Definitely.
So right, so I'm saying these two motivations will impact the overall quality and the content of those courses. Okay, so if I have been strong on the social media space or specific technologies on digital or some whatever my thing, and you ask me to create a course on, for example, cybersecurity, I can still go and create a course on cybersecurity, but that course will be touching the superficial level of cybersecurity rather than giving the right content to the person who are looking for it, right? So the way you identify the industry professional and what topic they create the course and how the what is the rating that they get from the learners is what going to be the key to keep the quality based content rather than the volume or the number of courses that you have on a platform. Does it make sense? Like that's what
that definitely makes sense, because one thing that we have also been very sure of is curating the type of courses we get.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
So that is something we also definitely look forward to. So I actually have run out of all questions, but one thing that I have to ask, considering I have you with us right now, is that considering your experience, considering that you have already started out as an entrepreneur after 2 decades of experience, because if you see most of the startups these days, people are like, these are college guys startups, they start up, they shut their shop, then they go do their job. That has been some of the norm. There are always exceptions and some have done really quite well. But going inside your career and after a sizable amount of years in the industry, then quitting and taking up, taking the entrepreneurship route is quite a huge deal. So what advice, if you have any, for people who want to become an entrepreneur and yet are like scared to leave jobs or taking the plunge in terms of doing it? Any advice that you have for them in that scenario?
So I will talk only for the set of people who have done some amount of work in an industry and then want to start something on their own, right? My personal learning is that there is no easy recipe, right? First thing is that you need to be really convinced yourself that what you are planning to do is going to stay, right? you need to be convinced on yourself. Whether it works later or not, it's something which is not in your control, but you need to be convinced, and your family needs to be convinced. Second thing is like you need to have patience, and you need to again be aware about what you are doing, how much relevant is it in the market and in your direct customers' eyes, right? If it is not relevant, you cannot continue doing it just because it's your dream, right? You need to be very, very open about changing the course until it aligns to your overall idea, and make modifications and keep going forward. So that is more important, right? So patience is important, the agility is important. And third thing which I'll say is like if it is definitely any startup has a cost involved to it, right? So if you have thought about a sustenance of 6 months or 1 year with your saved fundings and all, I think that usually does not work unless you are very lucky or you have a set of mentors who can actually handhold you in various decision making or various stages. So you need to make sure that you have a decent amount of funding for at least 1.5 to 2 years before you take. And at one point, if you are comfortable starting, it's better to start now rather than later, because whenever you start, you have to go deep into it, and then you start floating up.
That is definitely there. So following up is one last question. This is going to the last question, is that considering your vast experience, we would definitely like to know what are the strongest life lessons you have, considering everything that you have been through, like industry and then entrepreneurship, that to worked in various MNCs with repute. What would be something like, what were the biggest lessons that you have that you definitely like us to know, or if you could share it with us, that would be great.
So the only life lesson which I will share is like change is happening. Okay. Whether you like it or not, changes are happening and changes will continue to happen. So if you want to stay longer, you have to make sure that you adapt those changes as fast as possible, and also as close to the change. You need to make sure that, okay, you are very close to the change, right? And if possible, find a mentor or a guide who can always help you, saying that, okay, who understands you as a person and say that, okay, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, and this is what you should do, or this is what may work better than what you are doing right now. So understand that change is happening, align to that change, and keep a mentor. These are the 3 things that you should do.
That definitely helps a lot. Considering even if you look at the start of the year till now, most of the things have changed. So yes, change will happen. Anyway, sir, thanks so much for joining us today. Yes, sir.
No, thank you so much. We wish you all the best, and yeah, we'll see.
I just want to ask one question: is H3Y on Swiggy?
Yes, it is. It is. We are on Swiggy, Zomato, and also on the other platforms.
Great. So everyone who's watching this video, the links are on the description. Please go and like and order from Swiggy.
But we are on the Bangalore right now. We are still working on opening other places.
Sure.
But thank you so much for your wishes.
LearnMall team is coming. The moment this unlock happens, LearnMall team will arrive there for some healthy snacks, considering we have been snacking at office all day. So we definitely will be there.
Anytime. Thank you so much for that.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Take care. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.